Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honorable Member in the Chair, I am thankful to you for giving me this opportunity to speak on the adjournment motion moved by Honorable Jayantha Veerasekara on the conduct of the Eastern Provincial Council. Now, I feel that I will fail in my duty if I do not at the outset point out that this motion, according to my understanding, is in contravention of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which we have all, as honourable members of Parliament, sworn to uphold. I am open to correction, but I am of the view that this House cannot debate the conduct of the Provincial Council when it's functioning within the powers vested to it under the Constitution. Under the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, land, that is to say, rights in or over land, land tenure transfer, and alienation of land, land use, land settlement, and land development to the extent set out in Appendix 2 is vested with the Provincial Council. As per Appendix 2, state land shall continue to vest in the Republic and may be disposed of in accordance with Article 33D and written law governing same. Subject as aforesaid, land shall be a Provincial Council subject to the following provisions, and it goes on. And anyway, in my view, the executive power of the Provincial Council is vested exclusively with the Governor, who is a nominee of His Excellency the President. Therefore, I feel that this matter should be first taken up at the Provincial Council and thereafter referred to His Excellency before we can even discuss same. Anyway, having said this, I would like to focus on the crux of the problem that is staring us in the face today. We have a national problem. We have an ethnic problem. And in my view, as I have said earlier, we have a Jatiya problem, which we have to solve if we are to progress as a nation, a Sri Lanka, undivided, united, or unitary, whatever you want to call it. But how do we get there if we continue to put obstacles in the attempts that are being made to resolve it? I agree that the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was foisted on us by the Indo-Lanka Accord, which we Muslims vehemently opposed and was in fact a contributory factor for the birth and growth of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress. The denial of the views of the Muslims being heard, leave alone being accommodated. Despite this, the Muslims did not want to stand in the way of any attempt at solving the problem and in fact contested the first election for the merged Provincial Council. But what happened after that is now history, based on which we have to look at the future. The Northeast was merged without consulting the people of the province. It was demerged again without consulting the people of the Northeastern province, though there was provision in the Constitution for a referendum to decide on whether it should stay as a merged province or a demerged province. Now, what has happened after the demerger? Now, we had an election. And we all know what happened at the election and what our views were on the result. Honorable Sivane Santurai Chandrakanthan alias Pillayan was sworn in as the Chief Minister. There were legitimate claims made by the constituent parties claiming to represent the Muslim community who are with this government. But what did they do? They tamely gave in, picking up the crumbs that were thrown on their way or that was promised. But what is happening today? We have a Chief Minister who is publicly complaining, who is going on air and complaining that his former boss, the Honorable Vinayakamurthy Muralidharan, the SLFP Minister for National Integration, is obstructing him from carrying out his duties. Now, this is the very same group that the UPFA propped up to contest the Eastern Provincial Council. And we objected to it. We said, we are not against Sivane Senture Chandakanthan being sworn in as the Chief Minister, but we are against Pillayan being sworn in as the Chief Minister, because this Pillayan is under the military control of this government. That is why we objected to it. And now today, two individuals who are under the military control of the government are being pitted against each other. And the end result is that the people of the East have nowhere to go. We have the Chief Minister who is complaining that he is unable to work, and we have an honourable member of Parliament who is now a minister who is given the power to override the Chief Minister. Now, we all must agree that the East is the only province in the country that has all three communities living in equal proportions. And I have said this before, that it is only in the East that no one community can come to power without the assistance of another. And having come to power, they cannot continue in power unless they compromise to retain that power. Now, having had these conditions, which in my term would be laboratory conditions to try out a solution to this national problem. All the communities are there, they are of equal strength, and no one can function on his own. And in an environment like that, if we do not work towards finding a solution to this Jatiya problem, how does this end? This government is on record that after having cleared the East, that the 13th Amendment would be implemented to the full. But now, what we have is a council elected under the 13th Amendment and not being allowed to function by the maneuvering of this very same government. Now we have a unique situation in this province. We have three districts. We have Trincomalee, we have Batticaloa, we have Ampare. Now we have the district consultative committees. Ampare, we have three co-chairs. Three co-chairs representing three different parties. In Ampare, we have Mrs. Ferial Ashraf, who represents NUA, Honorable Adaullah, who represents National Congress, and we have Mr. P. Daratna from the United National Party. The three co-chairs. Nothing can work. Why? Each one has their own vested interests. Now, Trincomalee, we have a fellow Thomian from a former UN peer or still a UN peer from the Ratnapura district who is relocated to the Trincomalee district to co-chair with a member of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress who is sitting with the government. Co-chairs. They are two. And, two co-chairs there. Now, the scenario unfolds in the Batticaloa district. Now, Batticaloa district, all this while, the Honourable Minister, Mr. Amir Ali, was chairing the district as the sole minister of that district. But now, we have Honourable Vinayagamurthy Muralidharan appointed as a minister in equal rank, and then we'll have now two co-chairs in Batticaloa also. So what does this mean? That means nothing is going to work in these districts. There is not going to be any coordination. Now, under this 13th Amendment and the Provincial Council setup, the mess that it's creating is that the government agents function on their own. The governor sits on top of all that. The chief minister and the governor sit at all these DCC meetings. Right? But nothing moves. Why? Everything is being manipulated from the top. Now we know the Provincial Council as it stands today has no funds. They have not been given the money they have been promised. They don't have the manpower even to write their statutes. There is absolutely no coordination between the government agent and the provincial councils. Leave alone the members of parliament. Now we have a big problem in that all these days we didn't have a provincial council. Therefore, the members of parliament basically manage the affairs of the district. Now we have a provincial council, and most of the subjects are devolved to the provincial council, and the provincial council has no funds or real power. The elected representatives of the provincial council have absolutely no power to do anything, because everything is being done centrally. Now the Ministry of Nation Building has overall power of all development in the eastern province. So what? You know, this has become a mockery, absolute mockery, because we have all these institutions. The provincial council is basically a white elephant. The provincial council can't do anything. The elected members cannot do anything because according to the 13th Amendment itself, all the executive power is with the governor. Right? On top of that, we have the Ministry of Nation Building doing all the work around with absolutely no coordination with the provincial council. Yeah, that's another clarification. So I would like to urge this government to read, basically I'm not sure how many have read this, I'm going to table this, a report presented by the International Crisis Group, a group working to prevent conflict worldwide, in its report, Asia Report number 159, dated 15th October 2008. There is a specific report on Sri Lanka's eastern province, land development and conflict. Now there are some recommendations. I will just read a few of the recommendations that have been made to the government. Devolve maximum power and provide adequate financial support to the Eastern Provincial Council by immediately making the necessary administrative and legal changes as outlined in draft interim proposals submitted by the All-Party Representative Committee in January 2008 to enable the consistent and workable implementation of the 13th Amendment. Grant police powers to the Eastern Provincial Council only after the Constitutional Council is functioning and has appointed a new National Police Commission. Ensure the security and nurture the confidence of the three communities of the Eastern Province by demilitarizing the TMVP and integrating those cadres not credibly accused of human rights violations into the police and the security forces, while affording TMVP officials and office holders effective police protection, and enforcing the law fully and without political interference, preventing further political killings and abductions, and bringing to justice the perpetrators of major cases of human rights violations in the East, including the January 2006 killing of 5 students in Trincomalee, the August 2006 murder of the Action Contrail 5 workers in Mudur, the September 2006 murder of 10 Muslim workers in Pothuil, and February-March 2008 organized sexual assault of women in Akarepattu. Invite opposition parties, including the Tamil National Alliance and civil society representatives with guaranteed protection to join a regional peace process to discuss the grievances of the three communities and seek consensus on the future of the East and viable forms of power sharing at all levels of governance. Address continuing land disputes and their underlying causes by establishing a land task force with independent representatives from all three communities and form development agencies to survey existing land disputes and allegations of singleization, clarify the rights of various parties involved, and to the extent possible, resolve ongoing disputes. Creating divisional-level land committees composed of representatives from the government, opposition parties, civil society, and donors who would monitor and mediate land disputes on an ongoing basis. There is a whole list of it, and I am tabling this because this is of significance, and I am sure if all those who are interested in finding a solution to this problem should read this. To the President of Sri Lanka, establish immediately the Constitutional Council as required by the 17th Amendment and request it to nominate new members for all independent commissions. Request the APRC to conclude its deliberations quickly and free from political interference and promptly finalize constitutional reform proposals. While tabling this, I would also take this opportunity to table a document which has been in my possession for some time, compiled by none other than Mr. M.I.M.Naoshaad, an authority on land issues in the Eastern Province. I am tabling for inclusion in the Hansard, grievances of Eastern Muslims in the areas of historical habitations of Tamil-speaking peoples. And to wind up, I would urge the government to use the ideal conditions prevailing in the Eastern Province now to fully test the 13th Amendment so that this House can then start debating further amendments to the Constitution, which will eventually be required to bring a lasting solution to this problem. Thank you.